I became a Batman fan much later in life. Sadly, I did not appreciate the movies or animated series growing up, and for some reason didn't even pay any mind to the games either. I'll put it like this, the first Batman game I ever played was Batman Arkham Asylum. But that's like having your first car be the Batmobile. Everything I play after it will fall in comparison. So now that I do appreciate The Dark Knight, I'm going back to revisit and see what I missed from the franchise. The first older game to catch my eye was Batman Vengeance. Look at the cover, how could it not? It screams the show. Published by Ubisoft back when it was two separate words, Batman Vengeance is an action-adventure game released in 2001. It's based on the television series The New Batman Adventures. It features most of its voice actors reprising their roles, with Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker being the obvious standouts. Hands down, voice acting is the best part of the game. I haven't seen the New Batman Adventures series yet since I'm only halfway through the first season of the animated series, but I could confidently say that Conroy and Hamill are my preferred versions of the Clown and the Bat, movie, series, or otherwise. Even when I read the comics, the voices I hear in my head are theirs. They embody the characters so well, they give them life. It's not even a nostalgia thing for me, because if it was, in that case, my Batman would be Clunky. I think we all know how that goes.
I'm Batman.
The game does kind of feel like you're playing a season of the show, although a weird robotic version of it. The characters look and sound like they do in the show. It also captures the darkness the show has. Some might say, including myself, it's way too dark. I mean, the first thing the game has you do is toggle with the brightness. I'm blind as a bat, so I turned it up pretty high. Graphics aren't bad, but they also didn't win any awards. They're passable. The levels feel kind of empty with a lot of open spaces, and sometimes the opposite with clutter in the vehicle levels. The story centers around the Joker's death. After failing to save him, Batman has to stop the other villains who started scheming and plotting around Gotham, stealing scientists and concocting toxins, all for the Joker's master plan. Pretty simple stuff. Early on, the first few episodes feel like standalones, much like the show does, but eventually it all comes together nicely. My main issue with the game, though, are the controls. If they were only tighter. Batman feels super sensitive and jerky, and the inability to control the camera drove me nuts. I kept trying to move the camera the whole time, even though I knew I couldn't control it, but my instinct was to control the camera. I first chalked it up to the game being released in 2001, but I don't remember having as bad a camera issues in games like Jak and Daxter. I also kind of find it tough to see where you're supposed to go, with only a flick of the C button to move the camera to the default position, which is behind you, to help you out. In most instances, I just prefer to go to first person mode to see what's going on, which you do to use the gadgets. There's batarangs and other gadgets to shoot at enemies that you replenish during the level along with health boxes. You also have, of course, a bat grapple to gain higher ground, all this done in first person, with a green bat cursor turning red when they're in your sights. This also feels a tad off. More often than not, I thought I had them in my sights, but the cursor were to turn red, so no damage would be done. This was extremely frustrating, especially in the boss battles. There's no Naughty Dog yellow or flashing arrow pointing towards where to go. You just have Batgirl giving you hints through comms. In the boss battles, you just have to figure it out on your own. And that's good. I don't want the game to straight up tell me what I'm supposed to do. But because everything blends together in the level, it's hard to see what's even possible to do. Like opening a valve, hitting specific cable box, or opening a certain door. Everything is just camouflaged together. And you just have to go around pressing the button, hopefully you pick the right thing. At least that was me, because I'm blind. But even though I did find the first person Batman interesting, I would have totally preferred some sort of lock-on system with the batarangs and the combat specifically. But that could just be hindsight talking, meaning I know that works because I've seen it work before. In hand-to-hand combat, the camera comes in close. You throw punches and kicks and flurry of combos. Later in the game, you get special attacks, which are just unblockable animated combos. Some enemies may have guns that you can disarm with the batarangs, and if you get too close, you can block with your cape. It isn't an Arkham combat system by any means. It didn't revolutionize anything, but I guess it does its job, as wonky as it feels. When you encounter multiple enemies at once, they each politely wait their turn to get their ass kicked. Again, if this was just a little bit tighter, it would make all the difference. Sometimes it would be slightly unresponsive, or an enemy would hit me while I'm in the middle of a combo. It just didn't feel right. It feels loose. The game has a lot of inconvenient inconsistencies. Everything is a little clunky, making the game harder than it is. Another example of this is the sneaking, where Batman hugs the wall to hide from spotlights and enemies. This is done by pressing the action button close to the wall, What else does the action button do? Well, everything. It's the action button. It opens doors, picks up shiny stuff. So say you're in a hurry and want to get through a door. If you're not directly in front of the door, you will sneak on the wall instead. And because you don't control the cameras, it's not always as easy as just walk up to the door because you can't see. So instead of opening the door, you are now with your back against the wall and you press it again. And sometimes it doesn't respond. So you press it twice fast. So now you're off the wall and on the wall again. See what I mean by inconvenient inconsistencies? Have you played it recently or back then? Let me know if I'm overreacting about the controls. Maybe I'm just a spoiled 2022 control brat. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, please. The game is not all bad. It does have some cool gameplay ideas like freefall, where you have to chase after someone who's free falling to their death. This is very much a Batman thing. It's a small thing, but I liked it, and I haven't really seen it in games since. The music is fantastic, of course, sounding just like the show. I also like the handcuffs. Those were a nice mechanic, where after defeating an enemy, you can restrain them. And if you don't, they will recover and get back up to fight. But you only have a few cuffs, so you need to use them wisely. I just like the managing of the cuffs. Gliding is cool, no matter how clunky it is here, but it's okay, it's fun. There are 5 episodes total in the game, each represented with title cards similar to the animated show. I thought that was a nice touch. My favorite levels were the ones featuring bat vehicles. You get to control the Batmobile and the Batplane. Even though these are the trickiest levels, I found them to be the most fun, just zipping around Gotham chasing down villains. Even though there's 5 episodes, there are a total of 19 levels. I've seen run-throughs of like 2.5 hours, but that's without dying and knowing what to do. It took me about 8, but that was mainly because of its weird save mechanic. Well, I guess it was my fault. I was 3 episodes in and I quit the game to the main menu, and I didn't save it while I was there. Which I guess is what you're supposed to do, save the game, but the game shows you a flashing disc on the screen making you think it's saving. But no, you have to manually save it after quitting. I was appalled. When I came back and come to find out, my whole game was erased. I had to start from scratch. I guess I'm just a spoiled brat who's accustomed to the good life of autosave. I did struggle with the controls so much that if this wasn't a Batman game, I probably would have quit. But because it captures the charm with the look, sound, and feel of the show with familiar characters, I kept going. If you ever thought, what it would be like to play the animated series, I think this might be the closest thing we got. I know it's tough to do after I've been bashing the controls, but if you can find a way to live with these controls, there's some fun to be had in this over 20-year-old Batman game. There was enough for me to want to play the direct sequel, Batman Rise of Sin Tzu. And when I do, I will drop a video just like this one, so please make sure to subscribe to the channel because not even Batman knows when that's coming. And if you enjoyed this video, please let me know by dropping a like. Sharing is a great free way to support. I will greatly appreciate it if you do. And remember, always and forever, you do you.
Not now, Pooh. My audience who waits. After that, we're home free. Our friend in tights takes the bait, takes a dive, and then we string him up and drop him in the trig. Any questions?